Hello and welcome to the virtual webinar for the Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, presented by the City of Fresno Housing and Community Development Division. In this presentation, we'll provide an overview of the report and provide information regarding how the public can submit comments. First, we'll briefly discuss the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Community Planning and Development programs and the role of the CAPER. Then, we'll review the accomplishments reported in the CAPER by priority area, including affordable housing, homelessness, community services, and public facilities and public improvements. The CAPER also reports on fair housing activities, so we'll discuss accomplishments in that category as well. Finally, we'll provide information about how the public can comment on the CAPER. First, what is a HUD CPD program? What is the CAPER? We'll explain in this section. HUD CPD is the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's Community Planning and Development Office. The Office of Community Planning and Development, or CPD, seeks to develop viable communities by promoting integrated approaches that provide decent housing, a suitable living environment, and expand economic opportunities for low and moderate income persons. The primary means towards this end is the development of partnerships among all levels of government and the private sector, including for-profit and nonprofit organizations. In the next slides, we'll talk about how the city partners with HUD CPD to help meet these goals. Before every program year, HUD CPD announces the funding that will be made available to the city through the 4 programs in which the city participates: the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, Home Investment Partnerships, or HOME, Emergency Solutions Grant, or ESG, and Housing Opportunities for Persons with HIV/AIDS, or HOPWA. These 4 programs each make funding available for different eligible activities, but overall seek to meet the national objective of providing benefit to low and moderate income persons. Next, the city prepares its goals in an annual action plan, in consultation with residents regarding the most critical needs in the community. The annual action plan also needs to be consistent with the goals and priorities that the city adopted through a 5-year consolidated plan. Once the annual action plan is approved by City Council and submitted to HUD, the city implements the projects, programs, and activities in the plan by either providing funding and technical assistance to city divisions or to nonprofit organization subrecipients, which are awarded funding after an application process. Those city divisions and nonprofit subrecipients then perform the activities throughout the year. Later in this presentation, you'll be introduced to the activities that were performed during the 2019 to 2020 program year. Throughout the program year, and especially at the end of the program year, the city divisions and nonprofit subrecipients who received funding report how they spent their HUD CPD funds, along with the accomplishments to the city. The city then collects all of the information into a single performance report called the CAPER. The City Council approves the CAPER after the public has been invited to comment on it. This public opportunity to review and comment is not only required by HUD, it's also an important step for the city to make sure that its activities are transparent and that it's continuously listening to the needs of the community in order to improve future plans and activities. Once the City Council has approved the CAPER, the report is submitted to HUD. The CAPER submission is a requirement in order for the city to continue receiving funding. The program year 2019 CAPER reports on the expenses and accomplishments recorded between July 1st, 2019 and June 30th, 2020. Many activities are multi-year projects, in which case their accomplishments will usually only be recorded in the final year. There are some exceptions to this rule, such as for community services activities, which will report accomplishments as they occur. During the course of the program year, approximately $11.7 million was expended to administer and perform activities. This included approximately $6.7 million in CDBG funds, $3.7 million in home funds, $943,000 in ESG funds, and $339,000 in HOPWA funds. The accomplishments reported in the CAPER are typically reported as number of persons assisted or number of affordable housing units constructed or rehabilitated. The accomplishments in the report are grouped by which priority they support. These priorities are determined in consultation with the community during the city's 5-year consolidated plan. The priorities for the 2019 CAPER are affordable housing, homelessness, community services, and public facilities and public improvements. The CAPER is also used by the city to report its efforts in removing the barriers to fair housing identified in another required HUD report called the Analysis of Impediments to Fair Housing Choice. In the next section, we'll go over the accomplishments in each of these priority areas for the 2019 program year. We'll now review the accomplishments reported in the CAPER from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. 3 goals are associated with the city's priority to increase development, preservation, and rehabilitation of affordable housing for low-income and special needs households. The first, homeowner housing added, was for 27 units. However, none of the projects were completed by June 30th, 2020. Several have since been completed, which we'll discuss on the next slides. The city exceeded its goal for homeowner housing rehabilitation, recording 98 rehabilitated homes compared to an expected goal of 58. The third goal of 67 homeowner housing added is associated with a $7.1 million amendment that the city submitted late in the year in order to begin work on preparing sites and awarding funds to community housing development organizations to construct up to 67 homes on sites identified in the city's housing element, which is a part of the city's general plan. Accomplishments for this activity are expected in a future report. While no home or CDBG-funded projects were completed by June 30th, 2020, several projects were underway during the program year, including Habitat for Humanity's B and Amador Street single-family housing project consisting of new construction of 4 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes with detached garage and on- and off-site improvements. The total project cost is estimated at $984,121, of which $580,263 is to be provided for eligible construction costs and subsequent homebuyer mortgage assistance for households at 60% to 80% of area median income. FCTC-LP's Fancher Creek Senior Housing Project consists of new construction of 180 multifamily senior housing units and on- and off-site improvements. Construction is scheduled to begin October 15, 2020. The city provided $2,259,784 in CDBG funds for acquisition of the 2-acre project site located at Fancher Creek Drive and Marion Avenue. In addition, the city provided $1,420,500 in home funding for the eligible pre-development and construction costs. The estimated project cost is $31 million. 2 projects have been completed since the end of the 2019 project year, and accomplishment data will be reported in next year's CAPER. These included Self-Help Enterprises Annandale Commons Senior Housing Project, which consisted of new construction of 40 multifamily senior housing units and on- and off-site improvements. The city provided $2,568,000 in home funding for the construction of the project. The estimated total project cost was $14,139,895. Habitat for Humanity's Central Lots single-family housing project, consisting of new construction of 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, attached garage, and on- and off-site improvements. The total project cost is estimated at $904,666, of which $445,000 was provided for eligible construction cost and subsequent homebuyer mortgage assistance for households at 60 to 80% of area median income. The city implemented owner-occupied housing rehabilitation programs by providing funding to its Housing and Community Development Division home repair programs, as well as by providing funding to 3 subrecipient partners, including Habitat for Humanity, Self-Help Enterprises, and Fresno Economic Opportunities Commission. Altogether, the city and its subrecipients assisted 98 households with home repair, senior paint, roof repair, minor code compliance, and housing rehabilitation programs. 4 goals are associated with the city's priority to provide assistance for the homeless and those at risk of becoming homeless through Housing First collaborations. The city's public service and emergency shelter and street outreach activities both benefited more persons than expected, while homelessness prevention and tenant-based rental assistance programs both benefited fewer. We'll go over each of these in more detail in the next slides. Emergency shelter and street outreach services were provided through 2 funding sources, ESG and HOPWA. Marjorie Mason Center and WestCare provided 860 persons with overnight shelter or street outreach services during the program year combined. WestCare's Living Room program also provided services to 18 persons using housing opportunities for persons with HIV/AIDS funds. Additionally, bed nights made available by organizations receiving ESG funds were 22,009, with 20,469 bed nights provided. 93% of capacity was utilized. Tenant-based rental assistance programs, often referred to as TBRA, subsidize private market units for homeless and low-income households to increase affordability. During the program year, 3 organizations were provided funding to provide TBRA, including the Fresno Housing Authority, who used home funds to assist 62 persons. WestCare California's Living Room used HOPWA funds to assist 18 persons, and WestCare also used ESG funds to assist 78 persons. Activities reported as CDBG public services activities which benefited homeless persons or persons at risk of homelessness, and ESG and HOPWA homeless prevention activities are presented together on this slide. Turning Point of Central California provided assistance to a total of 109 guests with 7,368 bed days. By the end of the program year, 61 of the 109 guests have entered into housing situations. WestCare California, Inc. provided a homeless prevention and diversion program utilizing CDBG Public Services funds, which benefited 26 individuals, and 23 persons received homeless prevention services through their Living Room program to benefit persons living with HIV/AIDS. 27 persons received supportive services through their living room program, and through their Emergency Solutions Grant program, WestCare provided an additional 35 persons with homelessness prevention. Two goals were associated with the city's priority to provide public facilities improvements to strengthen neighborhood revitalization. The first goal, public facility or infrastructure improvements, reports the number of individuals who reside in the service area of a completed public facility or infrastructure improvement which was improved using CDBG funds during the program year. Unlike other activities, this is considered an area benefit, which means that every individual who resides within the service area designated to receive a benefit from the improvement is counted in the total. The second goal is the number of nonprofit facilities which were improved using CDBG funds during the program year. The City of Fresno Public Works Department completed 2 roadway reconstruction projects utilizing CDBG funds during the program year. The first project benefited 3,665 persons in the Calwa Vine MLK neighborhood. The second roadway reconstruction project completed by the City of Fresno Public Works Department benefited 11,375 persons in the Shields, Dakota, Crystal, Hughes neighborhood. Both projects included pavement reconstruction, including complete pavement removal, recompacting and repairing the asphalt base as needed, and reconstructing each pavement section. Neighborhood residents have benefited from the restoration of the previously deteriorated roadways, which are now safer to drive upon, as well as walk across and ride bicycles down. In addition, city crews were able to repair curb ramps and gutters for improved ADA accessibility and an overall neighborhood commute improvement. The City of Fresno Parks Department completed 4 park improvements during the program year using CDBG funds. Fink White Park received a new play structure. Holmes Park received funding for Americans with Disabilities Act remediation. Ted C. Wills Community Center received funding for various improvements, and Romaine Park received funding for improvements to doors and bathrooms. 2 nonprofit facilities received funding for facility improvements, which were completed during the program year. 447 persons benefited from the Marjorie Mason Center's Safe House bathroom renovation, and 56 persons benefited from the WestCare fire system upgrade. Several additional facilities and public improvement projects have received funding or are currently underway. Accomplishments for these projects will be reported in the CAPER for the program year in which they are completed. Projects underway include Webster Community Canal railing barricade design, Orange Cedar Butler, California roadway reconstruction, a multi-generational community center at Large Park, California Tupman Pocket Park playground and fencing, Romaine Park Challenger course, Granny's Park Youth Modular Center, JSK Playground and Shade Structure, Dickey Park Playground Tot Lot Replacement, Fink White Splash Park, various ADA, lighting, restroom, and HVAC improvements across the Parks Department, and design for renovations to various learner pools. For a full list of currently funded projects, see the draft CAPER. The fourth goal is to provide assistance to low-income and special needs households through community services activities. For this goal, 2,440 persons were expected to benefit, and 2,414 persons actually benefited during the program year. The Parks After School Recreation and Community Services Department operated the city's after-school program at 10 city park locations, including Ted C. Wills, Romaine, Quigley, Maxie L. Parks, Lafayette, Holmes, Frank H. Ball, Fink White, Einstein, and Dickey. The after-school programs were temporarily suspended starting in March 2020 on account of the emergency orders resulting from the coronavirus pandemic. However, Parks programs still benefited 571 youth during program year 2019. Enrichment programming provided for seniors 62 years of age or older to complement existing hot meal service was provided at 7 locations. Program sites were Lafayette, Mariella Brown, Mosqueda, Pinedale, Senior Citizens Village, Inspiration Park, and the Ted C. Wills Community Center. The senior programs were also temporarily suspended starting in March 2020 on account of the emergency orders from the coronavirus pandemic. However, 797 seniors benefited from the program during PY 2019. Local nonprofit organizations also offered community services using CDBG funding. Boys and Girls Clubs of Fresno County utilized CDBG funds to provide education, job training, and recreation for youth ages 6 to 18 at Fink White Park and their West Fresno Community Center. During the program year, the program served 896 youth. Fresno Economic Opportunities Commission's Street Saints program served 94 youth, operating in 3 community center sites in Southwest Fresno, which were Sunset Community Center, MLK Square Apartments, and Hacienda Mirabella Apartments. Helping others pursue excellence's Hope Builds Microenterprise Assistance Program provided 56 businesses with assistance, including 33 new businesses and 23 existing businesses. The funds awarded to Hope were leveraged to combat obstacles that entrepreneurs with limited resources encounter during microbusiness development. All community services programs were impacted by the emergency orders implemented in response to the coronavirus. The Boys and Girls Clubs programs, which are location-based, were unable to resume operations during the program year following the emergency orders issued in March. The Fresno County Economic Opportunities Commission was able to modify its program to offer remote programming, particularly in support of parents and youth with distance learning. Hope adjusted their program to the COVID-19 pandemic and continued to offer technical assistance support and guide startups through the legal process to form as a business entity. The City of Fresno is also required by HUD to report on activities in support of fair housing. The city updates its Analysis of Impediments to Fair Housing Choice, or AI document, through an analysis and public participation process at least every 5 years. The prior update was in 2016. The AI identifies barriers to fair housing choice and provides recommendations about activities to address those barriers. The city then reports activities undertaken according to those recommendations in each year's CAPER report. A comprehensive summary of the activities undertaken to address each recommendation in the AI is included in CAPER section CR 35. In this presentation, we'll provide a few notable highlights. Note that the recommendations of the AI include activities which address overt fair housing issues, as well as activities which address the systemic issues that contribute to barriers to fair housing choice. The city provided $40,000 of CDBG funds to the Fair Housing Council of Central California, or FHCCC. FHCCC maintains a website that explains fair housing rights and offers a means for residents to report violations or seek advice and referrals by toll-free telephone, touch-to-type, or email. The FHCCC received a total of 247 complaints of housing discrimination in the city of Fresno. There were 116 new cases of rental housing discrimination opened for further investigation and/or referral for relief. FHCCC also employs various methods to reach residents in areas of concentration, such as a monthly radio program, maintaining social media accounts, and by distributing materials to other service agencies and city facilities. FHCCC also conducted a systemic testing project in Fresno. The target area of the testing was all available new home developments on the basis of race and familial status. During the program year, 16 paired tests were completed. 5 paired tests were conducted on the basis of race, and 11 paired tests were conducted on the basis of familial status. Results show that persons of color suffered some form of housing discrimination, i.e., refusal to rent, lying about availability, or imposing different rules, terms, or conditions of tenancy 48% of the time. Through its proactive rental housing inspection program, the city requires registration with the Rental Housing Registry. There are currently more than 83,720 registered units across 30,000 properties. Rental units are subject to baseline inspection pursuant to a random sampling formula. Through the proactive rental housing inspection program, 8,917 baseline inspections to ensure habitability of multifamily locations had been conducted as of the end of the calendar year 2019. Since its formation in 2018, the reactive rental housing team has successfully addressed violations and closed 526 cases. Beginning in January of 2020, the reactive rental housing team was transferred to the rental housing unit and incorporated into the Anti-Slum Enforcement Team, or ASET, and are currently addressing violations on 109 active cases. The city made progress toward expanding both funding and collaboration for affordable housing in program year 2019. The city has submitted an application for the Local Early Action Planning, or LEAP grant, to fund the development of a housing trust fund, and also allocated substantial incremental funding for affordable housing development, including through a $7.1 million amendment to the 2019 Annual Action Plan using both CDBG funds and home program income to prepare sites and support the development of affordable homes on sites identified in the city's housing element. The city has also submitted its 5-year plan to the state of California for its permanent local housing allocation, which includes over $3 million in the first year for the development of affordable multifamily rental properties, single-family homes, first-time homebuyer assistance, and the rehabilitation of properties not currently eligible for city programs such as mobile homes. These efforts combined are expected to result in the construction of an additional 76 affordable units, the rehabilitation of at least 4 homeowner properties, and first-time homebuyer assistance to 21 persons. The city also continued to focus on Section 3 training and small business assistance by providing funding for Helping Others Pursue Excellence, or HOPE Builds, for their microenterprise assistance program, through which they successfully assisted 56 businesses, 33 new and 23 existing. Each business served has proof of registration to operate under a government certifying agency. The Fresno Housing Authority made progress in mobility counseling through expanded efforts, transitioning 2 staff positions to focus on mobility counseling and landlord engagement. Thus far, approximately 150 households have been assisted with mobility counseling, and landlord engagement efforts have recruited 12 new landlords, 2 of which are in opportunity areas. Funding for additional positions has been approved by the Fresno Housing Board of Commissioners, and these positions should be filled in late 2020 or early 2021. The city continued to expand its efforts to affirmatively and equitably provide information and opportunities for involvement by implementing a robust community outreach and engagement plan for the 2020 to 2024 Consolidated Plan and 2020 Analysis of Impediments to Fair Housing Choice. Highlights from this effort include 17 community meetings held throughout the city from November 2019 through February 2020, 2 focus groups, one for seniors and one for youth, 40 housing and community development stakeholder interviews, 13 intercept interviews at Inspiration Park, a community survey completed by 500 residents and stakeholders, and substantial outreach to promote participation in these initiatives. On February 13, 2020, the city held a Fair Housing Community Workshop to review and revise the recommended actions for the 2020 Analysis of Impediments to Fair Housing Choice. 27 individuals attended the workshop, and social media posts regarding the meeting received 14,500 impressions and engagements. The City of Fresno participated in the development of the Fresno Regional Drive Initiative, comprising 3 members of the initiative's executive committee. DRIVE is a 10-year community investment plan with a vision to create opportunities for all residents to achieve real economic mobility by fostering an economy that is inclusive, vibrant, and sustainable. The draft plan was published on October 31, 2019, and includes 18 investment initiatives that collectively call for nearly $4.2 billion of public, private, and philanthropic investment. The detailed plan can be viewed at www.fresnodrive.org. In October of 2017, the city adopted the Southwest Fresno Specific Plan, or SWFSP. Within the SWFSP, catalyst sites for focused development were identified, including the MLK Activity Center, an area bounded by MLK Boulevard, Walnut, Jensen, and Church Avenues. As the SWFSP was being developed, the owners of the MLK Activity Center property spearheaded an effort to create a concept plan for the MLK Center, which includes plans for a junior college, park, a mix of housing densities, and commercial uses. The first step was to have the properties annexed into the city, which occurred prior to the adoption of the SWFSP. Beginning in 2019, plans for development of a new city college in the MLK Center commenced and will continue into the foreseeable future. In 2020, private citizens and investors living in Southwest Fresno began efforts to consider developing a healthy grocery store at the southwest corner of Walnut Avenue and MLK Boulevard. In November of 2016, the California Strategic Growth Council selected Fresno as one of 3 cities in the state to be a pilot for their new Transformative Climate Communities Program, or TCC. This program was created to fund the development and implementation of neighborhood-level transformative community climate plans that include multiple coordinated greenhouse gas emissions reduction projects that provide local economic, environmental, and health benefits to disadvantaged communities. The funds are intended to be used for comprehensive public investments that can effectively catalyze private and public resources to achieve environmental and economic transformation. There are a total of 18 projects, and in October of 2019, the City of Fresno announced the launch of the first 3 Transformative Climate Communities projects. The first project to break ground was the Yosemite Village Permaculture Community Garden and Urban Farm Incubator, which is a 7-acre, resident-led community garden and urban green space located in Southwest Fresno. The second project, by Grid Alternatives, will install solar panels on 5 Fresno Housing Authority multifamily buildings for low-income families. Grid Alternatives will train 67 TCC area individuals for jobs in solar. The project aims to improve air quality and provide direct economic benefit for West Fresno families through electrical utility cost savings. The third project, the Inside Out Community Garden at the Sunset Community Center, will include volunteer recruitment and community engagement on garden maintenance, harvesting, and cooking demonstrations. The Fresno Economic Opportunities Commission and partners will survey the community for produce preferences, plant trees and vegetables with community volunteers, and conduct regular community events teaching proper nutrition and tasting a variety of recipes. As we've discussed, these are a few highlights from fair housing initiatives during the program year, and for a full list, please see CR 35 in the 2019 CAPER. We will now discuss how the public may comment on the draft CAPER. The city encourages residents to offer comments on the CAPER during the comment period beginning on October 12th and ending on October 28th. Comments may be submitted by mail to the City of Fresno Planning and Development Department, Attention Housing and Community Development Division, 2600 Fresno Street, Room 3065, Fresno, California 93721. Comments may also be submitted by email to hcdd@fresno.gov. Please include CAPER in the subject line. Comments may also be submitted by phone by calling 559-621-8300, by touch-to-type text telephone at 559-621-8721, and by fax to 559-457-1579. Residents may also comment during a public hearing prior to City Council consideration on November 5th, 2020. Participation instructions will be posted with the agenda at least 3 business days prior to the City Council meeting and may be found at fresno.legistar.com/calendar.aspx. Individuals may also request additional accommodations such as language interpretation, by contacting the Office of the City Clerk at 559-621-7650, or by emailing clerk@fresno.gov at least 3 business days prior to the meeting. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the city's Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report for Program Year 2019. To view the report in its entirety, please visit www.fresno.gov/housing.